Folks, it's Monday, it's 7 o'clock, which means it's time for Monday Night Nerd. Welcome, one and all, back to the show. We are here for episode 140. We are going to be talking all about Toronto Game Expo, the third convention in 2 years they've done. We got a whole bunch of news to talk about. We've got Mario movie, we've got my review Project Hail Mary, Spider-Man 2 so far, PlayStation prices are going up, and a little bit of cosplay controversy, and a whole lot more. Thank you all for tuning in. If you don't know, my name is Corp Cosplay. I'm a cosplayer in the Southern Ontario area, and this is my podcast, Monday Night Nerd. We talk about nerdy things like cosplay, comics, movies, music, wrestling, and a whole lot more. And we are live here every Monday night at 7 o'clock here on YouTube and here on TikTok as well. Thank you all for tuning in as well. If you guys have any questions on TikTok, hop over onto Corp Cosplay on YouTube. I won't be really watching the feed on here, but I do appreciate you tuning in. If you got any questions, hop over there. We've already got Lady Akari, Marcy, and Boomster are in the chat ready to go. Folks, it is the second con of the season is already over. I can't believe it. We've already done 2 conventions. It's not even April. We got a whole bunch more conventions coming up, and throughout the year we will be doing convention reviews every time I go to one. I think I've got 9 or 10 on my schedule ready to go throughout the year, and we got a few new ones this year, so make sure to tune in for those. Let's start, however, with something that I kind of stole from, let's say, we stole from the Geeks & Co., I'll be completely honest, because I thought they did a cool version of it, so I should do my version of it. I think it's time for the news. Live from the multiverse, it's Monday Night News! We are here with the nerdy news, Monday Night News. Let's kick things off, folks. If you are a Mario fan, as I am, you are super excited for this weekend. We have Mario Galaxy in theaters, finally, the sequel to the Super Mario Brothers movie. It was such a great movie. We are now in for the sequel, which is all Galaxy-based, and we've had a leak that has been finally, they finally just admitted to it because it was leaked early. We will have Star Fox in the new Mario Galaxy movie, which makes complete sense. If you're going out to space, you've already got an amazing character in Star Fox, and he will be making an appearance in the new Galaxy movie, and it has been released that it will be voiced by Mr. Glenn Powell, Mr. Hangman from Top Gun Maverick. He was also in Twisters and a whole lot more. I am super excited to see Glenn Powell voice this. I'm a big Glenn Powell fan ever since Top Gun Maverick. It is going to be such a great movie. I will fully admit, I think I said it here on the podcast, I was planning on dressing up and going to my local theater on the Friday night to watch it. And my local theater, you also have a thing where you can make a short video that you can show before the movie. It costs a couple bucks, and it's basically built for, if you're doing a party, you can have someone wish the birthday kid a happy birthday. But as a marketer, I was going to do the whole video in Luigi and welcome everybody to the movie and kind of pimp the entire channel and podcast and my socials and all that. But I was looking at the amount of people that are going to be there, and there's like 4 people in the cinema. I was actually really, really sad that there's like nobody going to the movies this weekend, probably because it's Easter. Like, that is I don't think there's no hype for this movie, but at that cinema, there's almost nobody going. So I'm going to save my money, and I'm probably not going to dress up because I will probably be the only one in that theater, possibly, that's even close to my age and looking kind of weird sitting there in a Luigi costume. So good thought. Not going to really work, though. Geekpool says, who is the villain? It is Baby Bowser. We have been shown that Baby Bowser is getting his dad back from the Mario Brothers after the end of the last movie. And I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I've always been a fan of the Baby Bowser character. I think it's a fun character. And I can't wait to see how they're going to bring the entire Galaxy world into it, because you've got Rosalina, you've got a whole bunch of other characters that they've shown, Birdo, the frog from Super Mario Brothers 2, a whole bunch of new characters. So how they're going to bring them into it, including possibly, as Boomster just says, one of the Bowser kids as well. How they're going to get them all intertwined into the movie is going to be interesting, because that's a lot of new people to bring into a franchise. But they did it in the first one, so we'll see what happens on this one. Other movie news, I went to the movies with my wife, which is rare because my wife is not really a movie fan. However, she is a book fan, and we went and saw Project Hail Mary. It is one of her favorite books. And I'm not a reader. I'll be completely honest. I listen to audiobooks, and they're usually like self-help books and bios and stuff like that. I'm not really a story book person, and I've never been a reader. So I am a movie person, though, and she told me we have to go see this because I'm going to enjoy it. And as someone who hasn't read a book and someone who is a diehard fan of the book, we can both agree it was an amazing movie. I will give this movie a 9 out of 10. I had so much fun in this movie, even not knowing any of the Easter eggs or little things that are in the movie. The visuals in the movie are absolutely incredible. The plot was intriguing, to say the least. If you don't know the Project Hail Mary story, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I guess you can kind of tell by the trailer. All of the sons are dying, and except for one, there is a biome, something that is eating and killing all the suns except for one in the universe, and we have to send a crew to that sun to find out why it is not dying. And stuff happens, creatures are met, science stuff happens. It is a super, super fun movie. It was a great showcasing of the intricacies of practical effects meeting visual effects and digital effects. It was such a fun ride. It was somewhat of a slow burn. I had a lot of people reviewing it that I watched beforehand saying it is a slow burn. I can see that. It is over the 2.5 hour mark, but I was not bored at all. I had a lot of fun. I talked to my wife, obviously, on the drive home, and she was telling me all of the different things that the book does, that this doesn't, and all that. I had a lot of fun, though. So if you are a fan of the book, I think you should go see it. My wife gives her positive reviews, and if you're not a fan of the book and you've not read it, you should still go see this movie. It is such a fun ride. It is very close quarters, but very expansive in some areas as well. So highly recommend. 9 out of 10 for Project Hail Mary. Geekpool says movie comes out on Wednesday. I assume you're talking about Super Mario. Yes. So the weekend might be dead. Agreed. Yeah, I have had our cinema gets it Thursday, I believe. So even the Thursday showing, there's not much. Thursday they didn't have much. Friday they didn't have much. Saturday and Sunday I'm kind of busy. I have to work a whole bunch on my cosplay, so it was definitely not going to be a Saturday Sunday. I also don't want to have a ton of kids at the cinema because I know the cosplay really works with the kids, but I also don't want a ton of kids screaming and talking through the movie. So we have to kind of run a balance between the two. So I will probably end up seeing it at some point this weekend, and I will be bringing back my review at some point during next week's podcast. Actually, we will not be doing it next week's podcast because we have a guest next week on the podcast. So it'll probably be the weekend after. So we talked about Project Hail Mary. We talked about Glenn Powell in Star Fox. We now have Pretty Murdy Crystal and Noah in chat. Good to see you folks as well. Let's talk about our weekly clip of Spider-Man 2. I'm still playing through Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation. I am just about 80% through the game. I've been just playing it in little bursts. David Thorne, who has been on the podcast, he told me when I first started that I need to play all of the side missions because there is so much extra content in there, and I totally agree. I've been playing nothing but side missions for the first bit of it, and now I'm running through most of the main story. Gripes with the game, there are a few. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but I think you can tell if you saw any of the promotional material for the game. You do get Peter Parker does get the symbiote suit at one point. He becomes extremely emo, and I was talking to Noah about it last night. He is so annoying as emo Spider-Man. I personally cannot stand him in that suit. I was very happy to get that suit off of him. There is a couple side quests that are just, there is a mechanic in the game that has been added that I just feel like is trying to be pushed down our throats. I'm not a fan of that in any game, not just this one. Like I said, we're about 80% through. It's still pretty fun. I am still leaning that the first Spider-Man game is the better of the two. I feel like this one is trying to go too far in the Spider-Man world and trying to get a little too complicated with the mechanics of combat and flying and stuff like that. I just don't like that. But going to keep playing it. Obviously, I'm going to enjoy it, and it makes me wonder what we're going to get with Insomniac doing the new Wolverine game, because they pretty much have to take everything that they built with the Spider-Man game and take out the swinging mechanics and all the stuff that's really fun and make it more of a ground and pound, it seems like, with Wolverine. So I'm intrigued. I'm enjoying Spider-Man 2, but Spider-Man 1 is such a great game that it's kind of hard to eclipse it, and I don't think 2 is, but we will see by the end. I should have it done by next show. A little bit that is frustrating as a PlayStation fan, and if you haven't bought a PlayStation yet, this probably isn't the best time to, and that is PlayStation announced earlier this week that prices are increasing for all systems across the board in almost every country. Here in the Great Wide North of Canada, a PlayStation Pro will now cost you over $1,000. It is very frustrating because I know a bunch of people I know have been waiting to get a PS5, especially for GTA 6, which I'm not saying they did it for this, but it is very coincidental that we are getting, we are months away from what could possibly be the biggest video game release in decades, if ever, and you just kind of bump up the price of the system that most people would probably play it on. I'm not like, there's a lot of people that play it on PC, but PlayStation is a pretty darn big seller for that game, so not saying they did it on purpose, it's just a fun coincidence. But if you were planning, you should probably look in the used market, because personally, I think $1,000, and even the regular system I think is up to $800, is just a little too much. I paid probably 4 or 5 years ago, I paid just over $500 at Costco for it, and I got Horizon with it, and it was a great bundle. But anything more than that, it wouldn't be worth it for me. And even as a hardcore PlayStation fan who has been a giant fanboy of the system since the PlayStation 2, it is kind of hard to push people to get the PS5 because there isn't a ton of games to play on that system that weren't backwards compatible and weren't available for the PS4. We're starting to get some more PS5 exclusives. They kind of stopped releasing them on both, but it's still, I don't know if it's enough to spend that much money on it. But if you're interested, start looking on Facebook Marketplace, start looking at EB Games for the used stuff, because yeah, it's getting way too expensive. Geekpool, did you play the Miles Morales Spider-Man game? I did. I played it. I think I probably played it 4 or 5 months after it came out, because that's when I got my PS5, and I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people's review of it is a sort of an expanded DLC. Like, it's not a full-fledged game, but I did enjoy it. I have no qualms against it. I know some people really didn't like it. They really enjoyed the first Spider-Man but hated the Miles. I didn't have a problem with it, and I think it is a nice transition into the new game, because I think if you didn't play that, Miles' combat and his complete change in powers and such would be a little bit of a twist and a little bit too much of a jump for some players. So if you played both, I think you're good. Going into 2, you should have no problems. Okay. If you tuned into my social media in the past few minutes before we went live, I did post about this, and this was something I was not planning on talking about, and I will probably clip this and make this its own video because everyone else in the cosplay community has. There was a interview recently with a cosplayer, and I'm not going to name who the cosplayer is, because if you've heard anything about this, you'll know exactly who it is. And there's a reason why I'm not mentioning their names. And they went, I don't want to say in a rant. They were on about a 50-minute interview with someone. And the line that came out of that interview that kind of stood out to cosplayers and kind of caused a bunch of rage over the weekend was, she said, cosplay contests aren't part of the cosplay community. Now, with stuff like this, I am not a headline reader. I hate when people do that. So during the weekend, I was flooded by a few different people about this and what my thoughts were, and I wasn't going to talk about it. However, why not? But I wanted to get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So I went today and I went and looked at the actual interview, And while I will not be showing it on here, again, for reasons, I wanted to go through about 6 or 7 lines that were taken straight from about a 3-minute clip, and this is the 3-minute clip that a lot of people are having a problem with. And I wanted to take her exact words and just give my 2 cents on each one, because I see a lot of people having a whole bunch of rage just from that headline. But I wanted to go into a little more depth to give them the benefit of the doubt, because there are usually 2 sides of a story. And as someone who does this and has also been interviewed, if you get into what I would call the comfort zone of an interview, you sometimes don't think about what you say, and you kind of get in that comfort zone of you forget the camera's rolling and you kind of just talk. And I'm not saying that you talk and you say things that are inappropriate, but you sometimes don't choose your words exactly like you should. So, giving them the benefit of the doubt, I've taken about, like I said, 6 or 7 lines, and I just want to quickly go through them just to put my 2 cents on each one. So, the initial title of the video, of most of people's commented videos, are "Cosplay contests aren't part of the cosplay community." No. That is wrong. It is literally in the name. Cosplay community, cosplay contest. It is part of the cosplay community. Cosplay contest does not get broadcast. Only the audience sees it. So what they're talking about is that when you do a cosplay contest, it is not broadcast. It is not shown to people. Most don't even record it. So basically the only people that see it are the 100, 200, no matter how many people in the room. Now, I have done cosplay contests at conventions that don't record it, and I've been to cosplay contests and participated in them that do record it. A good example of both, Fan Expo for some reason does not record them, and cosplay contest at Anime North actually does record it, and you can actually message the people at the end of the show, and they will send you your clip, so you can use it on your social media or whatever you want to do with it. That is one of the benefits that I like about Anime North, is that it does not take a lot to buy a camera like this and just record the whole cosplay contest. But my point being, so cosplay contest does not get broadcast, only the audience sees it. Yes and no. I agree and disagree with that. Some do, some don't. It takes up an entire Saturday. It kind of does, kind of doesn't. If you've never been in a cosplay contest, you usually wake up, you get dolled up in whatever you want. You may go straight to the floor and hang out with other cosplayers. You may go for what's called pre-judging, and that is you're going to go see the judges, and they are going to walk around and look at your cosplay and your build book and inspect you and judge you there. You then are probably going to have a little bit of time, go back on the floor possibly, go get something to eat, and then later in the evening, you're going to get together in the cosplay room, whatever you want to call it, hang out there with some cosplayers, get ready for the contest, do the show, and then you either are done or some do the awards later at night. So it does kind of take up all your Saturday, or at least most of it. So I agree with that. They keep you in a room all day. No, that really depends on judging. And listening to the tone when they said that, I think that was more just a comment that came out. I don't think they actually believe that. The way they said it was just kind of quick. No, they don't keep you in a room all day. It really depends on what time you get prejudged. For example, at Anime North, they do all the prejudging just before you go in the room to hang out with the other cosplayers and get ready. For Fan Expo, you book a time. So you could go early, you could go later. So again, just like earlier, it depends. A TikToker could make 50 videos with 300 people, could get 100 million views. Yes, that is 100% true. If you don't do the contest, you could make a whole bunch of content. However, and this is the part that doesn't get talked about, is that if you're not one to do that, if you're not trying to build a TikTok following, if you're not good at creating content, that time doesn't matter. That is something that only certain people can do. I do this. I have different social media accounts. I throw out content. I would rather do a cosplay contest because that's something I can't do anywhere else. I could shoot those 50 videos on the Thursday, Friday, or Sunday. It really depends on what you're looking for. Who do we have in chat? We have JS in here. We have JS in here from the Geeks and Co. People won't follow you after a performance. That is usually true because they don't usually throw people's social media up so people can easily find it. However, I have had people walk up to me after the competition and want to know more about me and want to follow my socials. So I kind of disagree with that. The part that made me laugh, though, is then they said, I run and host cosplay competitions. Well, if you run and host cosplay competitions, if this is such a big problem and cosplay contests aren't part of the community, why do you run and host them? Kind of seems like two different sides of the coin. Point being of all of this is that they can have whatever opinion they want. And this is the thing that kind of bugged me over the weekend. And I completely understand people's opinions of what they said on the video. And this is why I don't want to mention their cosplay name or show the interview or etc. And that is because if you were to disagree with their opinion, and you highly disagreed with their opinion, if you make a video responding to that video, and you show clips of that video, and you mention that cosplayer, and you bring up stuff like that in detail, you are giving them more audience than they had before. I've said it hundreds of times on this channel, and I will probably say it hundreds of times in the future. If there is something you don't like, don't give them your platform. Because this cosplayer, I didn't know about, and I bet a lot of people didn't know about, until so many people mentioned them and brought them up and showed clips of that interview in their own videos. And I bet you some of those people that watched those videos of those response videos went to that cosplayer's social media, and some of them may have followed them now. You just gave them more followers. If you don't like something, shut up about it. If you want something to die and you want something to stay quiet, don't talk about it. I'm sorry. I've seen it happen a billion times. And folks, in 6 months, a lot of people are going to forget about this cosplayer and what they did. And you just gave them free followers. And you're not going to remember what they did 6 months ago. So, that's my opinion. And again, you can have whatever opinion you want on it. You can agree with them. You can disagree with them. Just cosplay. Like, I don't understand why everyone takes some of these people's opinions with, I can't believe they have such a big following and they said these things. That's their viewpoint. They may have had bad times in competitions. They may have this reasoning for feeling this way. Who cares? Just enjoy making your cosplay, wearing your cosplay, doing with competitions if you want to, making 500 TikToks. Who cares? Just enjoy it, because that's what this is. It's supposed to be fun. Lady Akari said she came to the interview with very, very content-based attitude. And there might be a reason for that. There might be. And if there isn't, a lot of people gave her a lot of free press over the weekend. And I don't know why. Boobster Joe, we're talking about if cosplay contests are part of the yeah. It's it was it was something that happened over the weekend. I didn't really want to talk about it, but I felt like I saw so many it was more the people commenting and giving this person so much free press that I'm just like, you're doing possibly exactly what they want, and you don't realize it. And that frustrates me so much. Lady Kari also said, I've seen so many folks say they didn't even know who she was, which was funny. Me as an American living in Canada. Yeah, and that's the point. That was my main point, is like, you just gave them so much free press that they would not have had before everyone commented and made their own response videos for it. So again, I'm doing it here and I'm telling you my points about it, but I'm not giving them the press. If you want to look it up, go look it up. But me, I'm not giving them the press because I don't agree with them. But yeah, it's just weird. I was telling you previous message by JS who just came in. Thank you. Appreciate it, Boomster. Anyways. Thank you guys for tuning in for the news. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's do a sponsor. If you guys can hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all those things, it means a lot to me. And as you know, the sponsor of this podcast, as always, is my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife. I would not be doing this without her. You know that. I say it every single week, but it is the truth. I'm not doing this to suck up. My wife will always be my sponsor because she has created a great life for me, and we have a great marriage, so that's just the way it is. So, JS said, this is so silly to me, just cosplay. Exactly! I don't know how many videos I have to post saying, why are we fighting? Why are we making this complicated? Just freaking cosplay. It's real simple. Get out of the drama. It's not worth it. Ugh. Anyways. Folks, it is time for the main event. I need to do a main event video. Oh yeah, JS, you might have joined late. I did a news intro video now. I stole it from you guys. Not yours exactly, but I made my own. Love you. Noah said the cosplay community hasn't had a large scale drama in a while. So many people are rearing for a fight. Yeah, agreed. All right. Main event, folks. We are here. Let's talk about Toronto Game Expo. Toronto Game Expo, the spring edition at the Intercare Centre at the exhibition grounds in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, was last weekend, the 28th of March, the 29th of March, Saturday and Sunday. This is the third con they've done in 2 years, and I think that's great, but I think that's also something that could bite them in the butt later because this is a great place to go and hang out as a cosplayer and go to a smaller con that isn't crazy busy like a fan expo. But on the other hand, there is a point where you might be diluting the product a bit because if you don't go to the spring one, it's like, I don't have to wait a year. I can just go in the fall. And there was a little part of me while I was walking to the con, I was kind of going, that's I was just here in November, so not really that much time has passed, but we'll get into that. So this is a new venue for them. They've had 3 venues over the past 3 conventions: the spring, the fall, and now the spring. This was at the Intercare Centre, technically, and I think that is something that I heard several cosplayers talk about, and several other people that I talked to over the weekend. The Intercare Centre is a very big building, and it has multiple halls. Now, when I think of the Intercare Centre, and if you're not from Toronto and not from that area, you don't know what that actually looks like. But the Intercare Centre, as I know, is kind of 3 or 4 rooms or halls put together. And there's a big, long hallway that you can walk down and kind of go into each one. Well, Edith and I've talked about Edith before on the podcast, we went and we parked right near the front of the Intercare Centre thinking we just had to go upstairs. However, we ended up having to go long down the hallway, around a corner, out a door, around to the street, and back into the other side of the Intercare Centre. I know there were signs posted, and I greatly appreciate that. However, again, I don't know if this is a venue. This is really just the venue and the way it is, or the communication of it. I don't know because I don't get everything they post, but it was a bit of an issue getting to that exact room. We have Noah said, I just like this room compared to the last one. I felt like it was a large basement compared to 2025 November. And I kind of agree with that. I feel like there was a lot more daylight, a lot more openness, and I don't know. I do understand the basement comment. Some spots were very low ceiling. Space-wise, I think it was about the same overall. I think there was, if I remember correctly, there's like 4 or 5 aisles of Artist Alley, and then 4 or 5 vendors, and then there was some video games you can hang out with, and on the one wall was kind of the community area, the stage was at the back. Kind of a similar layout to what they had on the last one. But I did see some other people, not just Noah, mention that it did kind of feel like a basement. It did kind of feel underground, which we all go to Fan Expo and we're all in the South buildings and we're fine with that. But, you know, again, not complaining about it, but I don't know. Next year, they are going back to where they were last year, which is the Better Living Center, which is, in my opinion and Noah's opinion, the better of the venues. Why it was changed, I don't know. Why they change every year, I don't know. None of my business. So, as I said, we had an equal part artist alley rows and vendors selling video games and such. I think it was probably the most notable split between the two types. And I like that. I like that you kind of had a specific artist alley area, you had a specific vendor area, and you really had a divide in the sand, so to speak. And I didn't mind that. I really did enjoy walking through and going, okay, we're kind of done with the artists. Now let's go look at the video games and all the vendors that they had. It was a very good variety of artists and vendors. All the artists I saw had a great variety of stuff. There was some people that were focusing on anime stuff. There was some people that were focused on like tattoo style art. There was some people that were focused on, you know, plushies and sewing and stuff like that. Good variety of those. Same with the vendors. It seemed like there was a good amount. There was the traditional, and unfortunately there was a few, in my opinion, of the crappy 3D prints. It is very funny having a 3D printer and going down convention halls and seeing the 3D prints. I always knew that most of them were, you know, they buy the free file, they print versions of it, they sell them. I know that, but it was really funny going down there and seeing every one of those booths have that boo that I made with the tongue hanging out and it resting on the tongue. Almost every one of the 3D print vendors had that at some point, and I just laughed going, I can't guarantee that any of those files, they weren't paid for, whatever. That one I know is a free file because I got it. So again, you can't stop them, and they pay for a booth, and obviously some people are buying their stuff. I find it kind of crummy to do it, and I know a lot of artists and a lot of 3D printers do, but hey, they're spending their money to get the booth, and they're obviously selling stuff because if they weren't, they wouldn't come. So they're trying to make a buck. No celebs this year, which was interesting because the past 2 years they've had some pretty good guests when it comes to celebrities. Again, I don't know why they went no celebrities this year. I don't know if that was a conscious decision. I don't know if they just wanted to, you know, maybe some contracts fell through. I don't know. I don't think I really missed them though. In fact, I felt like it gave a lot more open space without having a bunch of tables that had some celebrities in it. Again, there's positives and negatives. St. John, who does Duke Nukem, was at the one year. He was super nice. Glad I met him. There was also Claire from Resident Evil was there one year. She was really nice. But then there are some that aren't just worth it. The cosplay guests are my celebs, said Boomster Joe. Agreed. And you know what? I kick myself. I just get so busy at these cons. I did not go and see the cosplayers, really. And I really should have. I could not remember her cosplay name, but at one point, I met up with some of the, we'll talk about in a second, the Smash Bros group, and we went to do a photo shoot. And she was dressed in a Bone Bowser cosplay, and it looked dope. And I actually had a conversation with her about how she made the head and everything. And it wasn't until I got home that I was like, oh my God, that was, what's her name, who does the Godzilla? I should have talked to her more. If I knew it was her, I would have been like, oh my God, I've seen your cosplays a million times. I love it. She's such a good cosplayer. For some reason, though, when I'm at these cons, I'm so busy on, you know, doing other things that I just don't think about going to see the cosplayers. And I kick myself. Mewling tea, thank you. And I don't go over there. And I'm kicking myself for it. But as I said, I was invited this year, not as a cosplay guest, but to be with the Smash Bros booth. A bunch of cosplayers who are all Smash Bros themes got a booth over on the side next to Pretty Heroes, which was with Lady Akari. And we were hanging out, just taking photos with people, walking around as Smash Bros characters. We had myself as Luigi. We had, what's his name is the Wiimote. We had Star Fox, we had Star Wolf, we had Bowsette, we had Rosalina, we had a whole bunch of them, and they were all amazing people. A lot of them I had seen many times at many conventions, but never really got to sit down and have a conversation with them. All of them amazing people. And even Lady Akari was great next door, yakking with us and having a good time. We got together at one point, had a little bit of a meeting. We went over to the great Paul Wish, the photographer at the con, and we did some amazing photos. I cannot wait until all of those come out. We got photos with a giant Kirby. We had some beat 'em up photos. I got a photo with Mewling T as Bowser. We had some Wario versus Waluigi versus Luigi photos. A lot of great stuff, and Paul Wish does an amazing job. He kept walking over and showing me the camera, and I'm like, I don't need to see them. Like, I know you're gonna pull a great picture, so I'm not worried at all. We then were taking a break over in the corner, and just my Edith, myself, and Noah, Freakish Workshop, we were just kind of hanging out in the corner. And we had a photographer come over, Carlosaurus Rex. He was doing some photo shoot and just came over and said, do you want to get some shots while you guys kind of hang here? So Edith got some shots. She was dressed as, I never remember the name, Barris from Dragon Ball Z, the cat god. She was that, and she made herself in 1 week, she made a giant cup of noodles cup, because I guess in Dragon Ball Z, Barris is a giant fan of ramen noodles. So she made that. Noah was rocking Punisher. I was rocking Luigi. And we got some photos, and you'll see mine in a few days. I think Edith has already posted hers on her Pixel and Mesh Instagram account, and Noah has already posted Noah has already posted his photos on there. Lord Beerus, Edith is watching. I'm sorry, I never remember the name. I didn't watch Dragon Ball growing up. I never watched it. I'm sorry. I am this close to calling it Ramen Cat God, because I just do not remember. Yeah, and he was absolutely incredible. So if you're looking for a photographer, Carlosaurus Rex on Instagram. He's done some amazing photo shoots. He is trying to build his portfolio. Give him a follow. He is in the Ontario area. Cosplay. Luigi. This was the first time I wore Luigi in a very long time. As a request from the Smash Bros group and the con, they wanted me to wear it, as it's sort of the one I was known for before Ghost Rider and Gambit. I will admit, that was probably the last time you're going to see me in Luigi, unless I do pretty much an entire rebuild of that cosplay. That was not the most comfortable costume I've worn. The straps on the backpack become very tight around under my arms, because they were done when I didn't really know how to do cosplay as well as I do now. Thankfully, I've upgraded the overalls. If you guys don't know, the first probably 5 or 6 times you guys ever saw me in Luigi, I had purchased some some overalls just secondhand, not realizing those were girl overalls. So they were very tight in certain areas and became very uncomfortable to sit down in. I now have men's. They fit a lot better. I didn't feel extremely comfortable in it. It was fun to wear. It was fun to get the interactions, but I feel like that cosplay is kind of outgrown its life for me. Maybe in the future I'll redo it. Maybe I'll do a new vacuum and such, but as of now, I think Luigi is going to be staying in that tote down there. for the next little while until I, again, make some solid upgrades. What did I buy? Did I buy anything? Yes, of course. If you saw the podcast last week, I did buy a couple things at Toronto Comic-Con, but I knew this would be the one where I wanted to get some important things, and those important things were Resident Evil 7. And you're probably wondering, why the hell do you need Resident Evil 7? Because now, after, buying all the other games, I now own all of them from 0 all the way to 9, but I was missing 7, because 7 I only had digitally. So I went on a hunt for what I thought was going to be a really easy purchase. One vendor, the whole convention, had Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition. And I wasn't even just looking for the Gold Edition. I was just looking for a copy. One vendor had it. I couldn't believe how hard and how long I had to search for that thing. But yes, I picked up that. I picked up a second copy of Resident Evil 2 for the PS4. And the reason I picked it up is because it is the Japanese version. It does play in English, but it is a Japanese cover. It is a Japanese version of the game. I've been eyeballing it for a long time. Pretty much the last 4 cons I've been to, I've seen a copy of it. So I went, this is the time. So I picked that up. I also picked up a sticker for my wife, as a bunch of people are saying in chat. They also purchased stickers. And yeah, that not a ton though. I really didn't think there was a couple things I was looking at, but nothing that really jumped out at me except for those 2 games. And then, without really realizing it, I went back on the Sunday. I was just planning on going on the Saturday. However, on the Sunday, my wife and I were literally going to be next door because we had the final game of the season for us for the PWHL Toronto Scepters, the women's hockey team. So we went back the next day, and I was talking to her in the morning, and I said, would you be interested in going? Because she doesn't usually go to conventions. The last convention she went to that wasn't Anime North was when I was a guest at Toronto Game Expo last spring. And I was sitting there and I said, do you want to go? And she's like, I don't know. And then literally I look over and she's pretty much gotten ready, and she's like, I'm going to get myself a ticket. So she got herself a ticket, and I brought my pass, and we went, and we got there and went through the whole con. And I think the con is very happy that I brought her, because what I thought was going to be a quick 45-minute just walkthrough of, hey, this is the con, isn't it fun? She ended up spending about $100. She bought a bunch of stickers. She bought a bunch of hair stuff. And then we realized at the end we had like a bunch of stuff, and she's like, well, we gotta get a bag, because everyone was just giving us little tiny bags for the stickers and stuff. So I'm like, well, we're gonna have to get a bag to bring it into the hockey game. So she's like, well, let's buy some chocolate. So we got some expensive chocolate as well to get the bag. So yeah, did not expect that, but yeah, my wife ended up spending about $100 on the Sunday, way more than I spent the day before. And I was supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to be at Sunday. But yeah, she had fun, and that was kind of it. Like, I had a lot of fun, like I said, walking around as Luigi, as I usually do. However, yeah, I think that cosplay has kind of lived its life. I think if we were to redo it, I think it would be a new version of it. Noah has mentioned to me doing a Green Power Ranger mashup of Luigi, or doing, I think someone said, a Fire Flower version. Yeah, I might do something like that in the future, but just the traditional Luigi, unless I do just a little video or something for social media. I don't think I'm going to be doing it again. If it comes to a video game convention, I've got other cosplays. I've got Portal. I've got Dan from Street Fighter. DC and Marvel have games, so I can pull those out if I need to as well. So it's I think it's lived its final life. Wilma said they have another one this fall. Yes, and I will probably be there. I will probably be there as well. I like this con. I really did like this con. I will say, though, it is probably the worst of the 3. And I say that saying that the first 2 were A+. This is an A. So it's not like it went from an A plus to a D. It just went down a little bit. And I think that might be because of the venue. And I think that also might be because I've, again, done 3 of these in a year. They had the spring last year. I was a guest. I attended the fall, and now I'm back for the spring. So, nothing against them, but any place you go to multiple times, the enjoyment is going to probably drop, especially if you're going to it that quickly. So, overall, I would give it an A. I'd give it a high pass. I do think there is a lot of value going to this convention. If you're a cosplayer, you have a lot of room to walk around in whatever size cosplay you bring. There are a bunch of different panels that were going on that I did not get a chance to see, but I did hear a lot of good reviews about. I believe Boomster Joe had a panel that went really well. So yeah, I highly suggest going to this. Like I said, there is a fall version of it coming. They have already put on tickets on sale. If you purchased one for the spring one, you can get a percentage off. I believe it's 10% the fall. Next week, they are going to be announcing a celebrity guest, and I believe it has something to do with Hyrule. So if you're a Zelda fan, this might be a convention you might want to go see. I think that's kind of it, though. Like I said, it's a great convention. Go enjoy it. Definitely go to the fall one. I will be going to the fall one for sure. Whether I'm there just buying a ticket, I'll buy a ticket. I was planning on buying a ticket for this one. It's just I got invited at the last minute. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the fall and what the new venue or new old venue is going to be. So far, so good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Let me just quickly look through my notes, but I think that's kind of it. The only thing I would suggest, and I don't know, again, I don't follow everything everybody does because, I'm doing a ton of social media and such. I think I remember seeing them talking about doing cosplay meetups, like fandom meetups. I think you might be able to push that a little more next year, or in the fall, I should say. Again, don't quote me on that, but I think that would be something that would help with the cosplayers. I think doing the panels is a great idea. I think the variety of panels I saw was a great idea. Who is that? Alex says Saturday parking was a mess from what I hear. Saturday parking was great when we got there. The entire parking lot was empty, which was beautiful. However, there was a sewing show going on at the Intercare Center as well. And I think there was also some sport game going on at BMO Field. So that is a lot of extra people going to that same area. And even on the Sunday when we showed up, we had the PWHL game. They had, I think, something else going on at BMO Field. I don't know if it's for FIFA or not. And the con and something else in the sewing show. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on in that area. But overall, if you got there early, you were fine. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Noah said we'll drag you out next time, Crystal. Yes, I think Crystal would enjoy it. I was at the Zelda meetup in my Korok cosplay. Nice. I wish they had a better map. Yeah. I think that's a kind of a problem with most conventions. This one, thankfully, is very wide, very open, so you can see a lot of different things from all areas of the con. So I made things a little easier, thankfully, instead of like Toronto Comic-Con where you're just people everywhere. We joked about Noah, we joked about staying dressed up and going to the knitting show. Yeah, so we got out of the cars, we kind of just walked what we thought was to the con, but we had to walk right past all the knitting people, and we were getting a lot of funny looks. And I joked with Edith, I said, we should just hop in line and just be like, yeah, we're going to the knitting show. Because, yeah, this is this. You don't dress up for a knitting show? Come on. But yeah, we didn't do that. But it was a thought that definitely went through our minds. The trains were bad with Blue Jays fans on Sunday. Yes, we forgot that too. My wife and we hopped on the train. It was just Blue Jays fans everywhere. And we're like, oh, right, baseball's open. Forgot about that. Harry Potter trailer from Geekpool. I have not seen the Harry Potter trailer, and that is because I am not really a Harry Potter fan. That is a fandom that I'm not a giant fan of. I have seen maybe 3 of the Harry Potter movies. I have played the Harry Potter Lego games, though, so that's about the only real reference I have. And I enjoyed Harry Potter World in Universal Studios on my honeymoon, but that's about it. But I have not heard anything about that trailer. Will says, I haven't been to any other con, so I don't have anything to compare it to. I got a little weird looks on my way back to the train. Yeah, but that's the fun of cosplay. If you're cosplaying and you're going on public transportation, like, that's just the fun of being a cosplayer. Comes with the territory. That is it, folks. We are going to end it there. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Thank you all for tuning in. If you guys can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and all those things, it would mean a lot to me. Next week, we have a guest here on the show for the first time in a while. We have enough of a good signal. We have enough of a good everything to have guests on here. We're going to have Mr. David Thorne on next week, and we're going to be talking all about Resident Evil. He is a giant Resident Evil fan. I am a giant Resident Evil fan. We're going to talk all about what we thought of Requiem. We're going to talk about our favorite games, what we like about them, what we don't like about them, and a whole lot more. So make sure to tune in next Monday. Again, hit that subscribe button. And when I post the stories and stuff, you should check out the video and hit that notification bell on the YouTube video, because that will send you a reminder when I go live if you're a busy bee like a lot of people are. I greatly appreciate everybody hanging out with me tonight, and I hope you all have a great week. We are going into Easter weekend, so I hope you guys have a nice, long, relaxing weekend. I will see you all Monday. I love you all. Take care. See you soon. Thanks so much for watching Monday Night Nerd. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any new episodes.